Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. I got to tell you, I don't want to say legendary, but our recap screens this week have been really good. We've had winning recap screens the entire week, and no change here with a 3-in-1 day. Buckets hits his, Mikey B goes 1 for 2, and Mike McClure hits his Colorado team total under. Not a lot of picks this week, but 3-in-1 we will take every single time. And ladies and gentlemen, we are gearing up for the Super Bowl. We got college basketball. We got the WM Phoenix Open that was just underway in the last 30, 40 minutes. A lot to talk about, a lot of picks to get through. Let's bring in the stars of the show. As I see Jen in the chat, James Rainwater, Liddy is in the chat, Jason Harrod is in the chat. We got Propstarz, Larry Hartstein, Meg Shoup, Mike McClure. Proppy, I have to start with you. You and me are going to be on primetime pregame tonight. I know we're going to be talking some NBA picks and some NBA reaction. What's your NBA reaction right now? We still have some time for the trade deadline to come and go, but a lot of trades have happened already.
Yeah, super fascinating stuff. It's been an extremely active trade market. Lots of stars changing teams. James Harden going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs odds have shifted to the favorite to win the Eastern Conference. I also like what the Hornets did. I think they, having won 7 consecutive games, they acquire Kobe White in exchange for Colin Sexton from the Bulls to come off the bench. That's a very good move. Jaren Jackson moving on from Memphis to Utah, who is not rebuilding. They are looking to acquire talent and build around a very talented core of Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George. So the Warriors getting Kristaps Porzingis, finally moving on from Jonathan Kuminga. The Wizards have been very active. The Hawks have been active. Boston getting Nikola Vucevic. So just so many moves. I predict there's going to be a lot more today. Giannis could potentially be on the move. Cat, still some huge names in the market putting around. So yeah, it's been absolutely fascinating to watch.
Mike, of all the moves, was there one in particular that really surprised you or kind of caught you off guard?
Dallas moving Anthony Davis right away again, and Dallas kind of committing to the rebuild again, or whatever they're doing. They're definitely, they've got Cooper Flag. They're going to get a decent, portfolio of picks, if you will. But yeah, just the interesting in terms of like the public facing and what you've gotten right away. It looks a little crazy to have sent Luka off and basically be bringing Marvin Bagley in this season at this point. So when you thought you were in win now mode at that particular juncture, obviously they got Cooper Flag, so things are different, but that one was interesting. As far as Giannis, I think it's increasingly likely he's not moving at this point before the deadline. I've got a little money on that, so hopefully that comes true. But yeah, that's a lot of it. Very interesting. As far as the Warriors, I know they were making a push for Giannis, bringing in a guy like Porzingis. Does that help Steph make one last run? I don't think so. We'll see though.
Yeah, all right. We got to, Mike, you and I at 11 o'clock have FFT DFS with Meg Shoup. Meg, real quick, are you here with some Super Bowl picks?
I'm definitely here with some Super Bowl picks. I'm excited to go back to back with you guys talking the Super Bowl, both picks and showdown later.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that we have the NFL Prop Show at 3 o'clock today. Last Prop Show between me, Dave, and Proppy, we went 6-0. I'm 12 for my last 12 on the Prop Show, so we're not going to have a ton of props. There's only one game, but we're going to have some props. We're going to have some SGPs to talk about. A lot of fun on the SportsLine YouTube channel at 3 o'clock. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, 12 for 12. That's pretty good, Sia. I've got it personally. I have a big night ahead of me. I'm taking 4 10-year-old boys to a Division I college basketball game, and we're sitting in the front row because apparently nobody else wants to go see FDU versus Stonehill in the Northeast Conference. It's a little payback game. FDU took the loss 1 point at Stonehill about 10 days ago, so I think the Knights get it back tonight. And then after the game, the players all stick around and sign for the kids or hang out with the kids because literally we're talking a few hundred people at most.
Proppy, somehow you have follow-up here.
Not directly, but I did want to mention it's also a big night for NFL futures bettors as the awards will be doled out. We will learn tonight all of the NFL awards, I believe, if I'm not mistaken: MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Offensive Rookie, Defensive Player of the Year. So as someone who's heavily invested in the NFL's futures markets, there will be a lot of money hopefully being made tonight.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, breaking news. The Bulls have traded Io DeSumo, which was a little surprising to see them move on. Dillingham is headed there from the Wolves, but Io is headed to Minnesota.
I believe Minnesota is presently the front runner if Giannis does get moved.
Very interesting stuff.
Those are the two positions I have. I have Giannis to go to the Wolves and Giannis to stay put, trying to arb, and basically those are the only two options I was betting on. Yep.
All right. Proppy, you have one option from a pick standpoint. You're talking about being heavily invested in the prop market. I know in the futures market, a lot of people invest in your props day to day. So talk to me today about our first official pick, Brandon Miller.
Yeah, I love Brandon Miller, one of my favorite young players in the NBA. I like him to go over just 20.5 points. Brandon Miller is one of the most talented natural scorers, young scorers in the league right now. We are watching him get better basically on a game-by-game basis. If you look at his scoring splits, he's increased his scoring average and his efficiency every month of the season, culminating in January where he averaged 22-plus points per game, having scored 20-plus points, I believe, in 11 of their last 12 games as well. That's coincided with 7-game winning streak by the Hornets, who are certainly an incredible watch on League Pass. I love this young Hornets team. They're super entertaining. He is their best player, certainly their best scorer. And yeah, I like him to go over 20.5 points tonight. No Colin Sexton coming off the bench. Could even lead to a couple more shots, but he's the alpha on that team when it comes to field goal volume, and the offense runs through him. So in a game against Houston, who's certainly a good team, which projects to be competitive, I think this number should have opened at least at 21.5, maybe even 22.5. I think it's a great value at 20.5, where I think it'll ultimately close at least 21.5.
All right, we're taking Brandon Miller over 20.5 points. If you have NBA questions, get them in the chat. Proppy and some of the rest of this crew can answer those. Let's transition, Mike McClure, to PGA. The WM Phoenix Open began at 9:15, around 9:15 this morning. You like Cam Young, and I do want to mention that Cam Young goes off in the afternoon, which I do think, Mike, is a little important because it does appear, and you're more of a weather guy than I am, it does appear that winds are going to be down in the afternoon relative to the morning. Anyway, talk to me about Cam Young.
Yeah, certainly going to have some favorable conditions in the afternoon relative to right now, which is what I would recommend potentially in the next hour, grabbing some round score unders on afternoon wave, guys, as we have a little bit worse scoring early. That's what we're doing on Cam Young here. You're going to play under 68.5 plus 112, the price point. That is a 3 under round or better. This course is extremely gettable. It usually is going to become a birdie fest. I certainly expect that here. When I look at this particular setup for Cam Young, it sets up extremely well. Not only is he one of the best players on tour, you've got to be good off the tee and you've got to be able to putt. He's been incredible in terms of the driving golf ball off the tee, but he's also been right there in terms of strokes gained putting. I think that his playing group as well today is one that's going to elevate his play. Sometimes when you play with some of the other top tier players, it can serve as a little bit of a distraction for certain guys. Cam Young is not that guy for me personally. I like when he's playing with better players because I personally think it gives him some of the better sight lines in on some of those shots, and I think it gives him a little additional motivation. He certainly knows that he's one of the top players on tour right now at this point. Expect a big breakout year from him, but going to start here in round one. Going to go under his round score. Again, 68.5 plus 112 currently at DK is where I played this. That would require a -3 round or better.
All right, I'm actually looking at the scores right now. I'm seeing that Daniel Berger birdied his first hole. I know you have him as a top 30. Real quick, Mike, there were people in the SportsLine Discord, and I was talking with some of them last night there, asking about one and done. And we had our contest, which began, the early wedge contest, which began when this tournament began, and we had 725 people in it, which is a good amount. What were the most popular plays in one and done?
We had... Let's see. I just had it. Mav McNeely was number 1. Cam Young, who we just talked about, was number 2. Siwoo Kim, Hideki Matsuyama, Sahith Theegala, Ricky Fowler, and then still had a decent number of the field take Scotty Scheffler here at 3.5%. But basically 30% of the field is on Mav McNeely and Cam Young.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Matt McNeely and Cam Young and Ricky Fowler, by the way, everybody, those are 3 of my outrights, my only 3, although I did have a long shot also on Hao Tong Lee. Those were all in the without Scotty Scheffler market. I bring them up to say this. They're all going off in the afternoon. Literally all 4 of those guys going off in the afternoon, and 3 of them were my first-round leaders. So if you still wanted to dabble in the first-round leader market, you can. The market is still open. You can also dabble in the top 5, top 10 first-round leader market. Just wanted to point that out, that those bets are still available. Those guys haven't teed off quite yet. Anyway, more questions on golf, let us know. But Meg, talk to us about some Super Bowl picks, because Larry's got a Super Bowl pick. I've got a Super Bowl pick. We got Super Bowl picks on the prop show later today. Meg, you've got 2 to talk about.
I have 2, Sia, and they're both from the same team, but they're pretty low lines. So first is Kenneth Walker over 20.5 receiving yards, -110. We know the rushing matchup against the Pats is very difficult. That's why a lot of people are going under Kenneth Walker rushing. But Walker's still been active in the passing game over the last 3 games. He's had a 13.9% target share with Helani last week. And by the way, I loved Larry's look of the over Helani receptions. I think they can both get here. In the conference championship, he ran similar routes to Helani and had the same target share at 11%. So I do like the Helani over receptions, but I also like Walker over receiving, because Walker in the playoffs has averaged 11.1 yards per reception. And the Patriots also give up a lot of receptions to the running back position. That's why I think they can both get there. When playing the Pats, 24% of the receptions go to the running back position, which is the 3rd highest. So I just think if Walker is going to get, stymied on the ground, they're going to try to get him open in space in the passing game. So I do love Walker over 20.5 receiving yards, and I'm probably going to be laddering it up to 30.
Okay, so we got Kenneth Walker over 20.5 receiving yards. Now we're going to a guy I really like as well, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, we're going to lean into the veteran here, right? And you can certainly go over 2.5 receptions and pay some juice. I'm going to, I like my plus money plays. So I'm going to go Cooper Kupp over 3.5 receptions at plus 145 at MGM. So again, it stood out to me that in the last 2 playoff games, he's had 4 and 5 receptions, a little better target share, 20% target share over the last 2 playoff games, and has met and exceeded this even plus money line both times with 4 and 5. He also avoids Christian Gonzalez coverage playing in the slot. And the Patriots are a little more vulnerable in the middle of the field and, in the slot. So I just believe that Sam Darnold's going to have to trust his vet here in the biggest game of the year, just like he's trusted Cooper Kupp over the last 2 playoff games, and he's going to lean on him. And I really like 4 plus receptions at plus money, which has happened both of the 2 playoff games. And I think it's going to happen on Super Bowl Sunday too.
There were a couple kind of fun SGPs I've given out over the last couple of weeks, mostly on HQ. I'll bring them to the prop show. And again, these are ones you might want to consider. You don't necessarily want to bet. But the first one I gave out, Meg, was Cooper Kupp. So I was doing like alt stuff, right? So I did Cooper Kupp 3+ receptions. I threw in an anytime touchdown, which I generally don't like to do. But I did Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown at plus 250. And then I did some wild stuff with Ramondre Stevenson, 10+ first quarter rushing yards, and Stephon Diggs, 5+ receiving yards in the first quarter. Anyway, just having some fun with what I think the game script might be in the first quarter. And I think that was like somewhere near plus 600. So we'll talk about more of that stuff as this week goes along and on the prop show. And oh, by the way, at 10 o'clock on Sunday, we're doing a special Super Bowl show. You'll see everybody on your screen right now, plus many, many more. Basically, the whole SportsLine universe will be filtering through that show. We'll go at least an hour. So make sure from 10 to 11, you dial into the SportsLine YouTube channel again Sunday morning. Larry, go ahead.
I just have a random question. I got invited to a Super Bowl party, which I'm probably going to go. And I said, awesome, what can I bring? because I don't think I'm going to be officially working during that time, except in the Discord, obviously. And they said, bring something that you like to eat or drink. So does that mean that it's everyone's bringing their own stuff to this party or what?
Ooh, I feel like that's what's happening. Like it's some sort of potluck situation.
Okay,
Meg?
so I shouldn't expect like a big spread or anything. I don't know. I'm a little nervous to ask them, what exactly does that mean?
They said eat or drink, so it sounds like it sounds like potluck and a BYOB kind of situation.
There was spread talk, but I don't know if it was food or actual side on the game. I'm not sure.
Which reminds me, I don't want to say snack. I don't want to qualify this. Your favorite thing to eat on Super Bowl Sunday. It could be a snack. It could be a main meal, whatever it is. Put it in the chat. Put it in the YouTube comments. Very curious about that. You might be curious about some BetMGM promos that relate to the Super Bowl. I'm sure there are many, but I want to tell you about one in particular. BetMGM is offering a low VIG promo. Low VIG prices for the big game. It's called Odds Flash, and it's available right now on the BetMGM app. Check out top spread prices for the showdown between New England and Seattle. You'll only find Odds Flash with BetMGM, and there's no better game than the big game to give it a try. Again, a low VIG prices Odds Flash courtesy of BetMGM. We've got more picks to get to. We just went through a couple of Super Bowl picks. I've got one to give out. I've got a golf pick to give out that you might be interested for this afternoon. And of course, Larry, we got to get to your picks. And we got some questions in the chat, Proppy, some NBA questions as well. We'll get to all of it right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Larry, before you give out your picks, I'll go ahead and give out mine. If you watch the Early Wedge, you know that I gave out a 3-ball, and I do, just like Mike, I hesitate to give out 3 balls. And so what I will say here is, because I like to isolate matchups, and because this is a plus money play, maybe you want to put a half a unit on this as opposed to a full unit. Don't want to tell you how to bet, but I'm more confident myself in just the singular matchups. The singular matchup I gave out yesterday, of course, was against JJ Spawn. He withdrew from the tournament. That one is void. So your new bet here, again, I pulled over from the Early Wedge. It's Hao Tong Lee. It's his 3-ball, plus 126. Should be anywhere between plus 120 and plus 126, wherever you look. Hao Tong Lee over Adrian Dumont-Dechessart and Neil Shipley. I mean, this is just a case of all 3 of these guys pretty much have no experience here. I think Adrian might have one. He went one go at it a couple of years ago, finished like around 60th. But a lack of experience here. But I'm really coming with who's in good form. And Hao Tong Lee is in great, great form. 2026, also in 2025, really good ball strikers, done really well with the short game. Adrian Dumont-Dechessart and Neil Shipley are bombers, which should fit things well here at TPC Scottsdale. But other than that, they haven't really done anything well for quite some time. Adrian has been on the Korn Ferry Tour a little bit and has had some success, but Neil Shipley's kind of been out of it for a while. So I think this is a good number on Hao Tong Lee at plus 126. Again, he was a long shot outright for me in this one as well. So that's my 3-ball. Let's move over to the NFL. One of the props I'll be talking about on the prop show today at 3 o'clock. Believe it or not, it's going to be Drake May over completions, 19.5. So I'll start at the 19.5 number because anybody who plays completions props, I know Larry is a big fan just like me. 19.5 is a pretty low number. Normally we're looking at 20.5, 21.5, or for the more prolific guys like Mahomes or Dak Prescott who likes to throw, you might see 22, 23. But 19.5 is a pretty low number. I think possessions might be more limited than normal here. So that doesn't really cater well to the completions prop. But what I will say is the New England Patriots haven't been pushed really that much this year. I mean, there's a lot of games that they kind of had in hand, or there were snow games last week, or just like incredible defenses and things of that nature. We have an incredible defense in Seattle, but I think Josh McDaniels is going to game plan for the short area passing game because I don't think this running game is really going anywhere behind Ramondre Stevenson and Trevion Henderson. Liking the short area passing game, liking the short number on 19.5 completions, and liking a neutral to negative game script for the New England Patriots. Give me over 19.5 completions at minus 125 for Drake May. All right, we move on to Larry Hartstein. Larry, you've got a Super Bowl prop, but you've also got a prop in college basketball tonight.
Yeah, Penny Hardaway is in his 8th season at Memphis, and it hasn't really gone well when you think about only 3 NCAA tournaments, only 1 NCAA tournament win in 7 years, and they're not going to make the tournament this year either unless they somehow make a run and win the conference tournament. They've had injuries, they've had some illnesses, but they've also had things that we've come to expect from Memphis, which is some poor late game execution, some breakdowns, so many turnovers. They are committing over 14 turnovers per game. And I played against them tonight on UAB, which is a very comparable team talent-wise. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a close game. But I think UAB, which takes so much better care of the basketball, is going to prevail here. It's just a situation where UAB lost all 3 times to Memphis last year. UAB has yet to get a home win in conference play. They're 0-4 at home in conference play, but 5-0 on the road. A lot of that has to do with who they've played. This is a team they can beat at home, and they're just going to be more efficient, and they're going to take better care of the basketball, and ultimately, I hope, win by at least 2 points. And then moving on to the Super Bowl, I am taking both teams to get a field goal of 33 yards or longer. DraftKings now has upped this to -130. The price was cheaper early in the week. I would play – this is as high as I would play this prop, but points will be at a premium. We know these teams will take the points. We know the Seattle Seahawks in particular are field goal happy in terms of the number of field goal attempts that they try. We should have good weather conditions. So you're just hoping that these drives stall before the 15-yard line, and then we get each team to make a 33-yard field goal. I think there's a good chance each team makes 2 field goals in this game. So I love this prop at -130.
Yeah, this one makes a lot of sense. There were some people asking Mike about your round prop. There was one person actually, I think it was James, who said he couldn't find it. Most books have it under round, like there's a sub-tab that says round, and you'll literally see, once you click on that, you'll see round scores for every player that hasn't teed off yet. Mike, am I missing anything there?
No, yeah, that's pretty much correct. You'll see it on rounds. Some it says just straight round score on the tab. Others it'll say rounds, and then you go to round score. And you'll have to scroll, and they go up and down once the tournament is started, based off course conditions, things like that. But yeah, they're definitely up still on pretty much every major book.
Yeah, I just checked as well, and they are definitely up. Sometimes these golf plays are a little hard to find. They're categorized a little differently from book to book. Propstars, 2 questions for you. One from Ricardo Hernandez. He says, Kelly Oubre, 16.5 points and assists. And the other question is more of a generic question, Proppy. Should we be weary on any props today, being the last day of the trade deadline?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that first. I would be absolutely. You don't know who's getting moved, what the rotations will be like. So certainly in some games, I would be careful, especially if there's guys being rumored to be moved. So yes, absolutely. And then as far as Kelly Oubre is concerned, I do actually have another official pick up at SportsLine, and that is Kelly Oubre over 1.5 made threes. So I love Kelly Oubre here without Paul George in the lineup for the 76ers. He's the third option. He's been the third option even with Paul George, but now has even more of a green light in the Sixers offense. Really benefits from playing alongside of Embiid and Maxey. He took 10+ threes in the last game. So yeah, I like what I'm seeing. He's also leading the team in minutes. He's playing heavy minutes. You saw the Sixers just moved on from Jared McCain as well. So yeah, I think he's going to be relied on heavily moving forward. I think all of his props look good to me. Really like the over 1.5 threes, but I like that one quite a bit as well.
I want to run through some of these questions. Meg, there's a question from what appears to be Ben from SportsLine. It says, Meg, how do we feel about Cooper Kupp over 15.5 longest reception -115?
It's probably not one I'm going to take, just because that's why I did approach it by receptions. And while the Pats are vulnerable in the slot, it's probably not one I'm going to take and just focus on the receptions.
Yeah, because, the whole argument for Cooper Kupp is, to me, that short area where you got 3rd and medium, maybe 3rd and 9. We actually saw it was 3rd and 9, I think, against the Rams. A huge first down that Cooper Kupp got by, an inch or two on maybe a couple of different occasions. I mean, this guy has been pretty efficient, but he's been efficient in the short area. And that obviously caters to efficiency, which caters to your receptions prop. Let's go to some more questions. Larry Hartstein, any thoughts on Sam Darnold as Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, I mean, he is the most likely MVP of the favored team. They have the whole narrative script behind him. I mean, the only thing that could the things that could get in the way if Seattle wins is, if it's a total defensive game and he doesn't throw a couple of touchdowns. I think he's got to throw a couple of touchdowns. And I think someone other than JSN needs to catch the ball because if JSN has 120 of his 180 passing yards and both of his touchdowns, I think there's a great chance that JSN could swipe it from him. But yeah, a little slight plus money on Darnold. Definitely, he deserves to be the favorite.
Proppy, go ahead.
I'd likely give it to Mike McDonald or Clint Kubiak if the Seahawks manage to win.
Has that happened? Has that ever happened?
No, that happened. I'm just saying that's who I would personally award the MVP to.
So, Mike, I don't know if you had your hand up here to comment on this. To me, if I was betting the MVP market, which I may not, I would actually do it on Drake May, just because I think if the Patriots win, I feel like it's almost definitely going to Drake May. But if the Seahawks win, I don't know that it's definitely going to Darnold. I think you could go to Kenneth Walker. You go to JSN. Maybe Cooper Kupp gets another Super Bowl MVP. I just feel like there's more outcomes where a different Seattle guy other than the quarterback gets the MVP. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's heavily a quarterback award. It takes pretty special performances in what are typically lower scoring games to get there. I think that's especially true in the case of Sam Darnold. I think it's kind of been laid out. The narrative has been kind of built into this, been written off a little bit in his career. So personally, I think there's a little bit of a discount on Darnold getting it relative to where Seattle's money line is priced. I agree with you, Sia, a ton. If you like the Patriots to win, I would definitely be considering Drake May as the MVP as an alternative bet. I don't see many scenarios that anyone other than Drake May wins it for the Patriots.
All right. Mike, do you like Cam Young over Siwoo Kim in a first-round matchup, -115? I'd be staying away from this personally, but I do like Cam Young just like you.
Yeah, I like Cam Young. This is a classic example of kind of why I play some of the round scores a little more. I like Siwoo. I'm very big on both of these players this week. And when you see stuff like that, that's kind of a strong statement that you might be in the right spot, right? So these matchups are always going to be produced by a book to essentially have players that they believe are very much near each other, right? And that's what I think is happening here. I think they're both extremely close. I happen to be high on both of them. So if you like Siwoo or if you like Cam, I would just simply play the round score like we already have. Now, I know you may be asking because you may not have the round score available. At that point, I would be pivoting to something else. Would not be looking to lay -115 against another guy that I have basically as high.
We have a question from Adrian Flores. Any thoughts on Sam Darnold or Drake interception? I do want to mention that on Monday's show, I think it was Brady Cannon who gave out the Drake May INT, which was pretty juicy, -147. But we do like that. I personally like both of them. Just going to throw that out there. I think Sam Darnold can make some mistakes, especially with that interior pressure getting to him early on his drop back. So I like both personally. We do have an official play for Monday on Drake. Larry Hartstein, real quick, Imanwari injured his ankle. I think that's an important piece of news to monitor. Any commentary there? Because I know we were talking pre-show. You may have an official play on SportsLine on Imanwari.
Well, on the show yesterday, our Super Bowl preview, I gave out Imanwari over 5.5 tackles and assists, which I loved at the time, and I still like it. I want to make sure that he's good to go, but he was putting weight on it, and the Twitter doctors have weighed in based on the video, saying that it was a good sign that he was putting weight on the ankle, and undoubtedly they will get him ready to be out there.
All right. John Cholik says, do I like Jacob Bridgman under 69.5 round score at +108? So I don't play round scores as much as Mike does. I don't really have any commentary there. I don't know that I think Jacob Bridgman might be okay, but I think the variance is big time with Jacob Bridgman. Could miss the cut, could finish top 20. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, and I would say you see me play a lot of round scores. You guys often see it on round 1, and you pretty much never see it round 2, 3, a little bit round 4. The reason for it when you're betting round scores round 1 is round scores are equal parts individual player performance and course conditions. And we're basically speculating on what the new golf course looks like that we haven't seen players on. We're incorporating a lot of weather. By the time you get to round 2 and 3, you've just had a relatively significant sample size of data of 150 golfers playing on it, more weather, more accurate. So when I'm playing those, a lot of that is also baking in weather and speculating on course condition as much as it is betting on a golfer's individual skill.
Okay, Meg, go ahead.
Yeah, two quick things. One, I do like the both quarterbacks to throw an interception. I know you mentioned that, and I really do like that look. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. And then I just have to shout you guys out. I'm coping with the loss of the football season, and I miss it so much. So I just fully leaned into all the early wedge bets, Sia, and I'm just telling everything you got. So I am so grateful. So I basically tailed everything you got from the show this week, and I'm going to be doing it all NFL off season and watching early wedge every week. So just had to shout you out. Great show the other day, and I'm tailing you.
Thank you. And so you'll be doing best ball like you always do, and doing some PGA betting, which I absolutely love. The beauty, real quick, the beauty of PGA betting, if you're not already dialed into the early wedge and just some of our golf content in the SportsLine Golf Discord, which is going to ramp up the closer and closer we get to the Masters and the majors and all of those things, you don't have to bet a lot of money to tail these bets. You have a 50 to 1 outright, a 30 to 1. You can put $3 on it, $5 on whatever, and then the round matchups are a different story. However much you want to bet in the tournament matchups and finishing positions, but the plethora and just the multitude of bets you can make, and the fact that you can track them for 4 days in most cases, it just makes it such a fun betting experience. If you haven't already done it, even if you don't like playing golf and you didn't think you liked watching golf, I didn't think that about 15 years ago either. Then I started betting. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. So the betting experience alone is something you're going to want to be dialed into when it comes to golf. All right, let's get to, and let's hand up if I missed anything major. Let's get to the recap screen, get everybody out of here, because me, Mike, and Meg have FFT DFS on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel in 27 minutes. Round 1 3-ball, Haotong Lee, plus 126 over Adrian Dumont-Dechassard and Neil Shipley. That is later this afternoon. You still have time to put it in. You may as well put it in now, though. Again, these 3 balls, I don't necessarily put a full unit on, especially since I've got plus 126 looking at me. Drake May over 19.5 completions, minus 125. More on that on the prop show today at 3 o'clock. We go to Mike's picks. Cameron Young, round 1, under 68.5 at plus 112. Then we go to Propstarz. Brandon Miller over 20.5 points at minus 114. Larry, UAB minus 1.5 at minus 110. And both teams to make a field goal of 33 plus yards at minus 130 for the Super Bowl, of course. Sticking with the Super Bowl, Meg Shoup has Kenneth Walker over 20.5 receiving yards at minus 110. And Cooper Kupp over 3.5 receptions at plus 145. Got a lot of people watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thanks for participating in the chat. Thanks for all your comments and the YouTube comments and the positivity. Sometimes there's negativity there, but some of you jump in with some positive comments as well. And honestly, we've had a very positive week with winning recap screens every day. Hopefully we can do that tomorrow as well. Big thank you to Meg and Mike, who I'll see in a few minutes. Big thank you to Propstarz, who I'll see on Primetime Pregame later tonight. And as usual, a big thank you to Larry Hartstein as well, and Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Everybody have a great Thursday. Enjoy the golf. Enjoy all the content coming up on SportsLine and CBS Sports HQ and CBS Sports Network. We'll see you next time. We rest our case.